Welcome to another episode of TFL Talk, and as always, I have my man
Nathan
and my gal
Emmy. Hey,
here for this very special episode where we're going to be talking about what, Nathan?
We're going to be talking about the top 5 bargain sports cars.
everyone loves a bargain and everyone loves a sports car.
So coming up next on the Fast Lane Car, top 5 sports car bargains, but with any bargain, there's always a downside.
That's right, and you're going to be finding out about that next.
We're talking about bargains. In other words, these are cars that have a lot of value for your hard-earned dollar. They can be expensive, they can be cheap, they can be somewhere in between, but they are very, very valuable in terms of the amount of oomph they bring to the table. So, Nathan, number 5, please.
Number 5 is the Scion FRS. Now, the one that we noted was $24,900. That is a bargain, considering that you're getting a rear drive vehicle that really is excellent on the track.
Right.
But, Emmy, take it away.
Well, you get 200 horsepower.
Yeah,
that's great. You can get it in a 6-speed manual. That's awesome, but oh my lord, no torque.
Exactly. And up here at high altitude, when we've tested them, with that lack of torque, they've been incredibly slow doing 0 to 60 runs. Now, with that being said, they're still awesome on the track, and they give you an awful lot for the money. It reminds me of the old RX-7, like what you used to have.
Yeah. And they look sexy as hell, I gotta say.
They're pretty good looking, yeah.
Yeah.
And me and Nathan don't fit.
Not very well. I've driven one for a little while. Yeah, my shoulder's scraping the bad spots.
Let's get real, guys. When the FRS and BRZ came out, it was like the second coming of God, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, we got a rear-wheel drive sports car, and everybody fought all over themselves, and nobody bought them.
I don't know. I mean, I do autocross, and I see so many of them. As soon as those started becoming available, it was like, oh, there's a new FRS, there's a new FRS, there's a new FRS. But it seemed that most people wanted the FRS as opposed to the BRZ, because those are tuned a little bit more suspension-wise to get their tail out a little bit more. BRZ seems to be a little bit more composed.
Maybe. I honestly don't know the difference. I've sat in both of them, and they felt basically the same to me. But I have seen, especially on the coast, Florida, California, a lot of those guys doing SCCA events and what have you. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So why aren't they selling?
Because when
Miata.
people buy them, I know, we know somebody who had a baby who was, ridiculous. But no, the thing is that, yes, Miata, we'll go over that a little bit later, but it's just not quite all the car that people wanted it to be. Not a lot of trunk space, not an easy car to drive every day for certain people.
I mean, with 200 horsepower, if you had a little bit more torque, then I think it would have sold better. But
slap a turbo or supercharger on it, you got a winner.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, Emmy.
The Golf R. Now, the Golf R is a little bit more expensive on this list. It's right around $40,000, but you're getting nearly 300 horsepower, and it's all-wheel drive. So that is an excellent car for a place like Colorado, where you want something that's all-wheel drive because you have to deal with weather, but you still want something that's fun and sporty, and it's going to get you places.
Our buddy Justin Wilson, IndyCar driver, former Formula One driver, got around our test track fastest driving that vehicle.
And in anything that he's ever driven, because he's been in like the Jag, he's been in the F-Type, he's been in a lot of different cars.
And an I-8, you name it, yeah. That thing screams on the track. It really does. And you can put your kids in it, and it's got a hatch, and you can put stuff in it. I mean, it's actually utilitarian.
The only car he was faster in was his personal Porsche 911 Turbo.
Yeah, that's saying something. Come on.
But there's also a downside, right? For me, it's that it's a Golf, so it's kind of mundane. It doesn't scream. I've got a lot of power under the hood, and the interior is like from 1995.
Yeah, the interior is pretty. It's you know what? It's one of the, because it's $40,000. I'd expect a little bit more luxury on the interior, but just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's one of those Europe America things, right? In Europe, it's a lot more expensive, and so they kind of still detuned it, because we got to drive on the launch the European version and had a big screen. Ours had a little tiny screen.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 3, Nathan.
Number 3 is the Mustang V6, and the reason why is it's $23,800. Now, we know about the EcoBoost, but that's more expensive. The V6 as a proper engine, rear drive, front engine vehicle, not bad.
Yeah. Over 300 horsepower, dude.
Yeah. Over 300 horsepower. It's a relatively light power plant. It dances. It's actually a fun car to drive. And there's something about the way it drives that really gives you a feeling of control.
Well, yeah, now that it doesn't have the live axle in the back, the fact that you've got the independent rear suspension, it's much more nimble on the track and it's much more forgiving.
It's a lot of car for the money.
Yeah.
Just in general, Mustang
definitely.
is so much better than it used to be.
Definitely.
But there's also a downside, and for me, it's the fact that it's a rent-a-car.
Yeah, the V6.
Is the V6 a rent? The V6
Yeah,
is a
That's the
rent-a-car?
one that will go into the rental fleets, and a lot of people. But you can get the V6. I believe you can get it with a manual, can't you?
Well, you better be able to get that car with a manual. I'm going to Ford right now.
We have a lot of things to discuss with Ford. What's important here is, yes, indeed, you do see that, there are a lot of them, but it looks so much better than it used to. It's okay that it's a rental car.
Yeah, I've now been seeing them all over the place. And when I first saw them last year, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that front end. But now that I've had a little bit of chance to get acclimated to it, I really like it.
Yeah, it's a good-looking car.
It's good looking.
All right, I mean, number 2, please.
Number 2 is the Corvette Z06. Now, this is our most expensive car on the list, but come on, 650 horsepower, and they start at right around $80,000, and you can get it in a convertible? Hello!
That's right. When you think about the fact that that car competes with like a 911.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, easily.
Easily.
Or a
maybe-
Viper.
Or a McLaren,
Yeah.
potentially.
Lower-end Ferraris.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and 80,000 starts to seem like a huge bargain. Plus, I think the new Corvette interior is just spectacular, right? When the old Corvette had carpet on the doors, come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the leaps and bounds with the interior.
Yeah.
They are so
Yeah.
much better now, and it's a world-class car. Now
Yeah.
it is a world-class car that I would not be embarrassed to drive in Europe, except for the fact that a lot of Europeans still think it's kind of gauche.
Yeah, but there's other downsides too. It's that old man syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely when you see a Corvette on the road, you're like, oh, who's that middle-aged douchebag driving that? But but it's a street legal race car with a warranty.
Yeah.
It certainly is. And on top of that, we know how good it is on the track. We know how comfortable it is on the highway. I mean, it's a multi-role dominant car. It's
Yeah.
really well made. Really well made.
All right, Nathan, I will leave number 1 to you. There's only one number 1, and this is obvious.
Yeah.
The Hellcat. Either the
Hellcat,
Challenger or
Challenger.
the Charger, but
Challenger.
all of us like
Challenger.
the Challenger.
3 numbers, 707.
Right.
For $60,000, this is where they basically
Horsepower.
start. 707 horsepower is just intense. And we had a chance to drive them on the track, and I got to tell you,
It's amazing.
it's a beast.
It's amazing. I was so glad I had an instructor on the track because I'm like, I will probably kill myself today if I didn't have someone with me that was showing me how to do it. I mean, just the feeling of power that you have, personal power that you have when you're sitting behind the wheel of that car, it's indescribable. It was one of the best feelings I've ever had. It's just amazing. Amazing.
But there are a couple downsides. One of the main ones is the fact that there's just not enough tire for that much horsepower. I mean, look at the Viper. It has,
The size of this table.
Yeah,
massive, and it actually puts out less horsepower. Then you see the Charger or the Challenger, and about that much for 700 horsepower.
Yeah, but just
plus.
go and spend an extra $500 on a new rear tires.
No,
Done.
okay.
No, you
Can't do
can't
that.
because you have to cut out the wheel well and put a wide body kit in and everything else in order to get the big wheels in the back.
Yeah, I was
fascinating.
I was just in Detroit, and I talked to Eric, one of the engineers who designed it, and I said, Eric, this thing has nowhere near enough tire, and he said we couldn't put anything wider in there. We would have had to actually redo the entire rear quarter of the car.
Really?
Yeah.
And that would have made it more expensive.
If you guys go online and find wide body kits for Challengers, then you'll see the only way that you can do it, and which also requires you to cut the wheel well and stiffen things, and it's a big pain in the neck. Fortunately, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with having not enough tire. I just want to be able to go to my in-laws' house and light it up all day long down the street, and then on the highway, and then whenever I go near a police station, I'm sorry, it had 707 horsepower. I didn't know what to do.
In any gear.
In any
Yeah,
year.
in a year. You want to chirp the tires in 5th gear. You're fine. You're totally fine.
There's of course, gas guzzler issue. It does suck a lot of gas. There's, of course, the issue where you can't get it under 20,000 over dealer invoice, right?
Yeah.
Because dealers are gouging
they're
people.
very difficult.
Remind
to get
me,
right now.
will you, how much did you pay on gas with your Raptor? And then yeah, that's what I thought. Look, it's an awesome car. Yeah, there's a downside, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
And as always in TFL, we like to give you a bonus car. I mean, what is that?
The bonus car is the BMW i8, which I have not driven. I've only been in the i3, but I know you guys have been in the i8, and you all just loved it. It just smoked it around the track, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, 125 to 150,000 doesn't seem like a bonus. But when you compare the fact that it is a supercar-like styling, right? It's got those scissor doors. It has that crazy, funky powertrain where you have electric motors and you have a gas engine, just like LaFerrari, just like a McLaren
P1,
just like a Porsche 918, and you get it for $125,000. That's a bargain.
That is. Indeed, it is not as fast as those vehicles.
No.
However, if you are into the snoot value of those other vehicles, parking it next to those vehicles,
You're like,
no problem.
sucker.
No problem. You walk away going, oh, you guys spent, what, $2 million on that? Later. So something to think about.
All right, now we wanted to give you something that was kind of palate cleansing because these are all somewhat expensive cars. So we wanted to give you the car that me, Nathan, and Emmy would buy for under $30,000. So in case you're out there looking for a car that's under $30K, Nathan, why don't you start? What car would you buy?
The Ford Focus ST.
Good choice.
247 horsepower, $25,245. It's fantastic. It's so much fun to drive. I don't rate a car based on just numbers. I can't stand looking at a piece of paper and having a pissing contest saying which one is better. I like a car that's fun. And that car, every time I drive one, I feel like I've been on a roller coaster ride at Disneyland. It's that good. It's practical. It gets decent mileage if you don't hammer it. And if you don't hammer it, I know. I mean, yeah, it looks like a boy racer car to a certain degree, but man, it is so much fun to drive. I think it's the best driving front-wheel drive car I've driven next to the GTI.
Yeah, I can't think of a downside except for the fact that it's not all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's great.
It is fun.
How about you, Emmy?
Well, you guys all know what my answer is going to be. I mean, this should have been on the list, but I know we argued a little bit about this, and you guys won with the Scion. But of course, it's Miata all day long, right? The new 2016 is coming out. It's going to have 167 horsepower, a new 2-liter Skyactiv engine, and it's a convertible. Every single one is a convertible. It has that awesome short shift 6-speed manual. It's the perfect car. It's the perfect car, 50-50 weight distribution. I mean, it's so good.
You know,
talk amongst yourselves.
And you know what? I find it not quite there. I mean, you just said it. They didn't change anything, right?
What do you mean they didn't change anything?
It's the same basic car.
They took out 200 pounds and they got rid of that awful front jelly bean of the 2015. That front end of the jelly bean. There's no more smiley face.
So they changed the styling, they upgraded the engine a little bit, and they made it a little bit lighter, right? It's an evolution. It's not a revolution.
How can you have a revolution for something that's already
I was
perfect?
expecting something revolutionary. I wanted to see some kind of a funky hybrid powertrain. I wanted to see something maybe like a dual clutch transmission. I wanted to see something that was new and cutting edge and not just basically taking the same old thing and making it incrementally a little bit better.
I will say this, I would like to see this in a Mazda Speed version. I'll give you that. If they offer this, if they offer the new Miata with a Mazda Speed, I think they're going to be selling like gangbusters even more.
A turbo supercharger. Slap down, because that's super high compression.
Super turbo.
Oh!
Have
you seen the commercials for the Miata? Have you seen those?
Oh, yeah, I don't like that.
Well, it starts out with like
with the guy. And I was like, oh, I had that car.
Yeah,
and then he ends up with the car again.
Yeah.
You see, it's the same car. Just
Do you realize, Roman, that guy in that commercial is about your age?
Yeah, probably younger.
Because his son goes off to school and everything else. Oh, Lord have mercy,
Okay,
Roman.
then Roman, what's yours?
Please.
Easy peasy. I just drove it, the brand new Camaro. I like the car because it's lighter, it's faster, it's better looking, it's everything that a sports car should be. It's more sportier. They've taken
More sportier?
Yeah. They've taken basically what was a car that was kind of a point and shoot car, right?
Right.
And they've refined it into a world class sports car, and that to me is revolutionary. To make a Camaro a world class sports car is revolutionary.
How can it be under $30,000?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. They haven't announced pricing yet.
We've heard a rumor that is it the V6 or is it the Turbo 4?
There's a Turbo 4, 275 horsepower. It sounds great. You can get that kind of butterfly valve in the exhaust where it gives you that really nice deep-throated growl. So we'll see, but yeah, it might not be under 30,000.
Yeah,
Probably
if
won't
they're
be,
going
I
to be
think.
competitive, I would imagine, with Mustang, then they may be right there.
It'll be right around there. So anyway, guys, that is our list of the top 5 sports car bargains and the top 3 cars we would buy for under $30K. As always, this has been
Nathan.
Hey, it's Emmy.
And Roman saying thanks for watching, and you do the social media stuff.
Oh, well, we're all on all the social media, so go find us there. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Ciao.